guys, it's me, Sarah. So I am here to tell you what I'm going to be cooking tonight, and it's going to be beef stew. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So I hope you enjoy my recipe. It's not typical beef stew, but it's really, really good, so I hope you enjoy it. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. That would be super duper awesome. And click the bell so you can get my videos when I upload them, which I try to upload like every other day or so. And if you're not new to my channel, thanks for coming by and watching me again. You guys are so super awesome and have become such a great support group to me. You don't even know how much I appreciate it. So thanks for coming back, and I will talk to you guys later. I hope you enjoy this recipe. Bye! Hey everybody, so welcome to my channel. Thanks for watching. I'm going to be making beef stew, so I'm going to tell you everything we're going to need. So the veggies we're going to need is the center stalks from a celery stalk thing. It's just all the center ones because it has the most flavor in the leaves. 3 small carrots, a half of a yellow onion, excuse me, 3 medium to large golden potatoes, 1 jalapeno, about 12 baby bella mushrooms. These are really tiny garlic cloves, so probably about 4 garlic cloves. And then you're going to need some stew meat, of course, which that's probably about 2 pounds of stew meat. And you have to have bacon. I have 8 strips of bacon. And then for seasoning, I have 2 teaspoons of dill, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of granulated garlic, the rest of my fresh ground pepper, which is probably about a teaspoon. And then you're going to need 1 stick of butter, and you're only going to need about 2 tablespoons of canola oil, and an 1/8 cup of cornstarch. And you can also use flour if you want, but I'm using cornstarch because I want it to still have a clear broth, but just a thicker broth. And I don't want it to have a creamy broth, so that's why I'm using cornstarch. Okay, so I'm going to start chopping everything up, and we'll be right back. So what's best to do is rinse your veggies all really well and let them dry. So I already did that, so I'm going to start chopping up my mushrooms, and I want them in big pieces. So I'm just going to cut them like that, and I'm going to finish them up and be right back. Okay, now that I'm done with my mushrooms, I'm going to move on to my carrots. So when I'm doing my carrots for a soup, I like to leave a little bit of the skin on like that because it has a lot of flavors in it. So I don't like to fully peel the carrot. Just leave a little bit of skin on here and there. And then I just chop off the yucky sides. And I like having them in big pieces so it's nice, hearty, chunky stew. So I'm just going to chop these in big, chunky pieces. So there's 1 carrot, and I'm going to finish the rest and be right back. Okay, next we're going to do our celery. So just cut off the yucky ends. And again, I like them to be in big pieces. So I'm just going to cut them like that, all the way down, leaves and all, and I'll be right back. So when I'm chopping my veggies, I like to keep the veggies that I'm going to cook together in the same bowl. So I have my carrots and celery, and then I'm going to chop up my onion, and it's going to go with those, because I'm going to be cooking those all together before we get everything together, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to chop the end off. And I'm going to keep these pretty big, but not super big. Don't mind if you hear my kids. They're like on a roll of fighting today, so yeah. So I'm going to do the onions in about that size chunks, if you can tell. So I'm going to finish this up and I will return. So the next thing that I'm going to be adding with my bowl of veggies is my jalapeno, which I don't want too spicy, so I'm going to seed my jalapeno. And always remember, after handling peppers, always wash your hands afterwards, like thoroughly, so you don't accidentally touch your face or anything and burn your eyes, or because wherever you touch, it'll burn. So make sure after handling a jalapeno, you wash your hands thoroughly. So I'm just going to finish de-seeding this and chop it into little pieces, unlike the other veggies, and I'll be right back. Okay, so that's the size that I cut my jalapenos. Let's see. I'm just going to add those with my other veggies. And eventually we're going to be cooking these down a little bit with butter, but not yet because we still have some chopping to do. So I'll return with the potatoes. So after I thoroughly washed my chopping board after cutting the jalapeno on it, now I'm going to chop my potato. And since it's for stew, I don't want it to take forever for the stew to cook. So I'm going to cut the potatoes in semi-small chunks, but not too small to where they just fall apart when you're cooking them. And I'm leaving the skin on. There's a yucky spot. And yeah, so that's about the size that I'm going to chop my potatoes. So I'm going to finish up my potatoes and soak them in a bowl of water so they don't turn pink on me. And I will be back once I'm done with that. Now that I'm done with my potatoes, I wiped my chopboard down so it doesn't turn all pasty and pink and weird. So now I'm just going to cut my bacon into strips. Well, they're already in strips, but into little chunks, I guess. Into bits, like bacon bits. And then I'm just going to throw them in a bowl and save them for when it's time to cook them. And I'm going to wash my cutting board again. So while I have my pan heating up, I'm going to chop up my little garlics. And if you haven't seen in any of my other videos, it makes it really easy to chop garlic by putting just a little bit of olive oil on top, and it keeps it from sticking to your knives or your hands, and it makes it really, really easy to chop. Because you know how garlic gets really sticky when you're chopping it, and it gets stuck to everything? Well, doing the oil, it makes it so it doesn't stick to everything. Super easy. And since I'm doing this for stew, I'm going to leave the pieces, pretty big, bigger than I would for another dish. So we're done with that, and we're going to go over to our pan. So with our pan on medium-high, we're going to add our bacon, and I know that got really loud. Stir the bacon around a little bit. And just cook it down till it's like halfway crispy, where it's like cooked but not overcooked. I'll be back when it's at that point. Okay, so the bacon is to that point where it is cooked but not too crispy, so I'm going to reduce the heat just a little bit while I'm removing the bacon. Okay, after you remove all the bacon, you leave the bacon grease in the pan, and I'm going to add a quarter stick of butter to my bacon grease. I know you're probably thinking this is crazy, but this is what we're going to saute all of our veggies in. So, once the butter's all melted, you want it on like a medium heat. And I threw the garlic in with all the veggies too. And we're just going to throw all these in here. And then stir them around. And we just want to cook them down a little bit till the onions get a little translucent. And then we're going to remove them from the fat and the butter. And I'll show you what we're going to do after that. Got to add, when we're doing this part, we want to add our pepper, our granulated garlic, and our dill. And then we're just going to stir that all up and let it cook for probably about 6 to 7 minutes. So I'll be back when it's been that time. Woo! Sully tried to escape. Okay, so this is what we're looking for in our veggies, is for our onions to get semi-translucent. So instead of trying to get all the veggies out of here, I'm just going to start searing the meat, the stew meat, in the big pot that we're going to be using. So I'll be right back with that. So getting your meat ready to sear, I decided to use extra virgin olive oil instead of canola oil, which I have it warming up on high in my big pan. And then come over here, you want your stew meat really dry. So I rinsed it and checked it for bones and stuff, because you never know with stew meat, because I kind of just hack it up, and sometimes it has cartilage and bones and stuff. So I always like to rinse it and dry it. And anyways, so I'm just going to add some sea salt to it and mix it all around. My hands are clean, don't worry. I've probably washed my hands like 20 times so far while cooking. So now that I have the salt all mixed around and pushed into the meat, once my oil starts barely smoking, I'm going to be adding my meat to the pan. So I will be right back when that happens. Okay, so my oil is smoking a little bit. I don't know if you can see it, but I can sure see it. So I'm just going to put my meat in here. It's going to get really loud. And you want it as even layer as possible, so you can get a good sear at least on one side of your meat, because that means flavor. I usually do this in 2 separate groups, but tonight's dinner is kind of rushed because it's getting late, so I'm just doing it all together. So I'm just going to let that cook on high for about 5 minutes, and I will be right back. So your meat is probably going to start to look like this, but don't worry. Just keep cooking it down until a lot of the juices have evaporated, and then I will show you what to do then. And until then, I'm going to sit here and wait for the juices to evaporate. Okay, so my stew meat has finally reached the point that I want it to. So I'm just going to remove it, trying to let any juice drip off of it and stay in the pan. Turn the heat down while you do this. Okay, so with the heat on low, I'm going to add just a slab of butter. Mix it in with the leftover beef juices. And then to this, I'm going to add my cornstarch and make like a roux, which you can also use flour. And then to this, I'm going to add my mushrooms. And it's still on a really low heat. So I'm just going to cook this for about 2 minutes and let the mushrooms get a little bit of color. Sorry, I didn't realize the picture wasn't very clear. But yeah, I'm just going to let the mushrooms get a little bit of color and soak up all that flavor. And I'll be right back. Okay, So now I'm going to add my bacon back in. Stir it around. Then I'm going to add all my veggie mixture. I'm going to stir and spoon. I will be back now that I have my handy dandy stirring spoon. Just want to mix all this really good. Make sure there's no cornstarch clumps and that it's all evenly dispersed throughout everything. Oh, this smells so good. And then the last minute thing I decided to add was some thyme leaves that I dried myself. It's only probably about a teaspoon of thyme. So I'm going to throw those in there. I like adding the spices before the juices because it brings the flavors out better. Next we're going to add our beef. Make sure you get any of the juices from the bowl. Stir that around really good. And then I'm going to grab the potatoes. Okay, here's all my potatoes. This is looking really good. And then last but not least, our water. So here's 2 cups of water. Here's 2 more cups of water. And 2 more cups of water. So a total of 6 cups of water. That is a big pot of stew. So you want to turn your heat back up to high until it starts simmering, and then turn it down to a medium to where it's nicely bubbling. And I'll be back to show you when mine's doing that. So once your stew has started boiling like this, you can put it on medium and then cover it, because you don't want to lose any of those juices, because you don't want to have to add more water and water it down. So you just want to cook it until the potatoes are all nice and tender and the meat's tender and the carrots, and then you're done. So we'll be back when it's done. Okay, so once you're... I like checking the carrots because they seem to take longer. I check with a spoon because they're not pokey. But, yep, carrots are nice and tender. And potatoes obviously are tender, you could tell. Yeah, they're good. And my stew is thickened up. And everything looks delicious. So I'm going to plate, but probably not be able to eat it for a while because it is piping hot. So I will be back in a minute. Doesn't it look super good? Yummy. Okay, so this is really, really hot. And I like putting cheese in mine because it's super good. But hopefully I don't burn my mouth. Okay. Way good. Super, super good. So, if you decide to make this, you will really enjoy it. Thanks for watching, you guys. And as always, take care, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.